is Melissa, your free range psychic. Today is Sunday, January 7th already in the new year, 2024. And I'm so happy to have Adam from Stargazing Astrology on my show. So today, Adam is going to tell us all about the significant astrological transits of this year. So Adam, yeah.
All right. So first off, Melissa, thanks so much for having me on your show again. It's wonderful to connect, and it's been a while.
Yeah, it has.
Yeah. So my YouTube page is Adam Stargazing Astrology, and if you have not subscribed already, please subscribe for new moon and full moon updates, which are very interesting. I'm also currently offering discounted astrological readings for the winter season. So if you're interested in any type of chart, whether it be for you or someone else, or if you're at any specific crossroads in your life, then please send me an email. My email is adamastro, that's ADAMASTRO 777 at gmail.com, and there will be information in the description box. Thank you. Okay, so we have a lot going on this new year. It's kind of off to a bang. And the reason why I want to say that it's off to a bang is because January 1st, the planet Mercury, which rules communications, has gone in a direct motion. So this is wonderful for new lines of communication, new ways of thinking. Mercury was in retrograde during the holiday season, which may have caused some communication muffles and communication errors. However, that is over with. So our ambitions are more put to the front right now. Right now is more of the type of energy of wanting to move forward and to get things done. We have a pretty strong Capricorn energy going on this January. Mercury Capricorn, of course, the sun sign is in Capricorn. January 4th, which was a couple days ago, we have the planet Mars, which represents our energy. Mars moved into Capricorn as well. So this will make us like doubly ambitious. And the reason why is because Capricorn is the natural ruler of the 10th house in the astrological chart. And the 10th house is all about public image, social status, social climbing, and our position in the workforce and the work world. It takes a lot of ambition and a lot of go-getter type of energy in order to be able to climb the steps in order to get to the top of our business world, and to the top of our organizational and structural abilities. So that being said, there's also an extremely deeply spiritual side to Capricorn. So this is also a time, can also be a time for inward reflection and meditation and retreat. And the reason why is because Capricorn is also strongly linked with the hermit archetype and hermit energy. So those are some of the more positive aspects of that Capricorn energy. One of the more negative aspects that we really need to watch out for is how our anger is being managed and controlled and channeled. The reason why is because, as mentioned before, we have the planet Mars, which represents our energy. It's going into Capricorn, makes us very ambitious. But Capricorn is ruled by the astrological sign of Saturn. So what we have here is a Mars-Saturn combination. This combination can tend to repress anger. It can tend to bottle it up. And we all know when we do that, our anger can explode. So those out there who have, anger towards whatever, the political spectrum, towards, themselves for maybe mistakes they made in the past, anger towards family, anger towards your boss, you need to make sure that that anger is controlled in a good manner. And the reason why I say controlled
One
is people,
second. Can I interject here? Can that also
yeah,
apply to internalized anger?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I just thought because, if you're feeling inhibited and, Saturn can inhibit, then that anger doesn't go away. That just can turn inward and that can cause a lot of issues, uh, even physical issues.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
never mind.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I just
No,
to interject
no,
that.
that's fun. Yeah, no, that's please. I love like a conversational type of dialogue. It's wonderful.
Okay, good. Because I
Yeah.
have lots of questions. So,
Oh, yeah, please. Yeah. Yeah, ask away.
but
Definitely.
proceed. I got my question out.
Yeah. So that's the one thing we have to watch out for. Another thing too is in tarot, Capricorn rules the devil. So, there it's a little bit of that we need to make sure that our bondage to our material security and our materialism is not weighing us down during this Capricorn time. That's also something that's very important too, that we have a little flexibility with that. And that ambition and drive and focus is important, but not to put other aspects of life to the back burner just for that.
Can that also be kind of symbolized or representative of survival issues? Because when survival's at the forefront, and that becomes the most important aspect of somebody's life, then other things can be sacrificed for survival. You can justify just about anything for survival, either of yourself or your family or whatever. Even when it's past its time to exist, meaning that it's time to let it go, but you're still hanging on to it. That kind of
Yeah.
Capricorn energy of, like almost vampire energy.
Hmm.
I'm
Hmm.
gonna,
Yeah.
I refuse to die. I refuse to let go of my belongings or anything or my ego. I'm gonna hang on to it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. There's this innate need for a strong self-preservation.
Oh, I'm just talking about the dark side of it, not the, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that the talking about the whole survival element, that really can play into the primal energy too of Mars. Which Mars is more acting on that primal instinctual level.
And
Mhm.
as I recall, in terms of Capricorn, it rules infrastructure and institutions, and institutions have a habit of kind of lumbering on, even when they're not uh, they're not functional anymore. They don't really have a purpose for the present moment, but they need to justify their existence, so they carry on with even like heavier restrictions and like this like this need or this insistence on continuing to identify with that institution, even though it's something that might be archaic or may not even be helpful for the current mode of things.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that's really true. And what's so interesting? What I actually find about institutions, is that the chart is it's set into like four different quadrants, and the institutions are in the most collective quadrant, which rules Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces. Sagittarius, I find, is sort of more off, like visionary. I actually find institutions have strong Capricornian themes, Aquarian themes, and Piscean themes as well.
Oh, I absolutely understand that because of the
Yeah.
the pomp and circumstance.
Mm-hmm.
Is that
Mm-hmm.
what you were? And then,
Yeah.
yeah, go on. I'm sorry.
Yeah. And then the Capricornian, is very much about upholding that old traditional structure, not wanting those foundations to
Yeah.
stay in place no matter what. And then Aquarius is really like all about like, all right, we're in community, we're in this together, but like let's invite new ideas.
So I'm not when I was talking about infrastructure, I was just talking about that one aspect of it, because we need infrastructure. We
Of
can't just
course.
kind of throw away infrastructure. We need
Yeah,
it
no.
for society to be stable.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but we need to also be able to be flexible with it. But a
Yeah.
Capricorn in its negative manifestation, it can manifest as a real kind of rigidity. So
Yes.
what's is that correlating to kind of what we're coming into in this year? This
Yes.
oh, it makes sense because because we have especially in the last few months coming up to this clash between uh kind of the Aquarius
Hmm.
and this kind of continuing awakening of new ideas and freedom, and then we have these older our you know
Hmm.
groups or whatever who are trying to uh have dominance, and so there's a real clash there. Is that going to continue into this year?
Yeah. So what is happening with that astrologically speaking is the planet Pluto, which represents the power structures. Um, Later this month, it's going to be entering Aquarius again. So it entered Aquarius briefly last year. So this means a lot because Pluto rules the power structures. We have those individuals who are so power hungry and so power greedy. The last final degrees of something, it brings up all the nasty. And Capricorn rules the patriarch. Um, so that energy is basically imploding on itself and it's dying off, but we're needing to unfortunately undergo like the final remnants of those Plutonian energies. So this is a crossover year. Last year was a crossover year. However, the majority of this year, we're going to see Pluto in Aquarius. Whereas the majority of last year, Pluto was still in Capricorn, and we saw a little peak of Pluto in Aquarius. So, that being said, right, the power is going more into new wave, new technology. Aquarius is also very gender neutral. For example, we're already seeing in high schools gender neutral bathrooms. You know, it's very different because a Capricorn is really all about the masculine principle. It's all about patriarch rejecting the feminine principle. That energy just got so out of balance. So that Aquarian energy is coming in to create more of a homogenized um, civilization in which humanity sees less difference between things like race and color and creed, sexual orientation. Things like this are starting to become less important, as we go along through this Aquarian energy.
Or will become. I mean, that's the whole kind of the GOP.
Will be.
They use that as a like one of their talking points. They're going to, or they know that will galvanize, or they're hoping it will galvanize some of their base.
Mm-hmm.
But the majority of people have moved on and are
Exactly.
much more open. So it's interesting. It's like they do represent, the kind of the old patriarchy, Capricorn energies, the alpha male, right? So
Yep.
they're really gonna those people are really gonna come up against it. They're going to be really challenged with Pluto and Aquarius, I think,
Yep.
because the majority and who's coming, the new generation's coming. It's a whole new world, and
Mm-hmm.
they're going to get squeezed out. That Capricorn type uh patriarchal, craziness, really, that's
Yep.
trying so hard to be hyper masculine and even to the extent that we still have states that represent that are allowing uh, girls to be married at 12 years old, but disallowing any kind of abortion, even pregnancy from rape. So but that's what you're talking about. I think when things they just kind of calcify, they're coming to their kind of worst aspects just to hang on to that energy. But that Pluto in Aquarius, you're saying, is not going to allow that really to.
You know, yeah, it's the the power is not going to be there anymore. The collective power. It's Pluto is the slowest moving planet around the astrological chart, but it creates the most evolutionary shifts. It's the most collectively oriented. So that's
I'm very excited about it because I'm Aquarius.
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
very Aquarian, and I'm like, come on, Pluto, bring it home because
yeah,
it's really needed. But we're still in a cusp as or aspect or area, so we should expect to see even more like extremes of those who are not ready or not wanting that to uh trans or to go through that transformation. It's probably going to get even more crazy, or we're
yeah,
going to see more ridiculous or even tyrannical attempts to stop that shift. But you can't stop it. That's the thing. It
uh-huh.
cannot be stopped. It's there. um so with Pluto and Aquarius, do you know what it's aspecting?
So Pluto, it's just going to be in Aquarius. Um, from what I saw as of right now, um, there wasn't extremely major aspects that I wanted to focus on. But there's some different aspects that tie in with the push of it that
Oh,
are going to
okay.
create like more of a push, if that makes sense. So, for example, the end of January, just after Pluto goes into Aquarius, the planet Uranus, which is ruled by Aquarius, it's going to be going in a direct motion. So it has been retrograde now. So when it's in retrograde, it stays behind a veil. So when it goes direct, we are going to see shocks and surprises are going to come out. The energy is going to be much less inhibited. Um, Brilliant new ideas because this energy is also very much represented with ideas and new innovations, and also shocking events. So, what was sort of put underneath a carpet, swept underneath, is going to be coming out and it's going to be surprising us. So this it's going to be really interesting. And Uranus is also it's very forward thinking and very much about moving forward with things. So this really ties into that Pluto and Aquarian energies. It's like a double whammy. It's gonna like speed up that progression. It's gonna make it that much faster.
Yeah, because you say Uranus rules Aquarius?
Yep. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that yeah.
Yep. Yep. So that's something excited to look forward to. And then in April, we have the planet Jupiter, which represents expanse and optimism. That's going to be conjuncting or sitting right next to Uranus. It's just going to blow up that Uranian energy. And our hunches may be spot on. Technology is going to like open up. It's going to open up a whole new technological level. It's the planet of genius. This can be a fun and social time as well. On the flip side, because that Uranian energy can be explosive and unpredictable, we could also see, that on a larger scale, so to speak. We could see that.
I'm getting kind of like not that there's not always world events like earthquakes and or weather events,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm getting, that kind of thing coming with it. Some
Yes.
tectonic shift instability here, that being
Mm-hmm.
triggered by that.
Yeah. Yeah. Uranus definitely can cause like earthquakes and electric shocks. It's all about um taking that energy of Saturn and like shaking it up, you know, destabilizing Saturn. And
Yeah,
then with Jupiter, it's gonna explode it. It's gonna magnify it. So that will
not
be
to
fun.
scare anybody.
Yeah,
I mean, the earthquakes happen all the time. I mean, the Earth's,
of course.
those plates are always shifting, and we just live on a shifting planet.
Oh yeah, and I actually, living in Santa Cruz, California, I live on a fault line to San Andreas. So that's pretty big. And then we have the Hayward fault line about 40 miles away, where I'm on all sorts of fault lines here.
Well, there was actually a earthquake not so far from. I live in Michigan, and there was an earthquake. Uh,
Really?
yeah, just a couple weeks ago. It wasn't a big one, but it was not that far. Maybe 4 hours away or 3 hours away. But yeah,
Yeah.
in northern Michigan, I think.
Wow. The thing is there I've been in a couple. I like the biggest one I've been in is like a 4 or 4.5. Like they're really exponential. And the majority of them are not above like a 3. Like there's like hundreds a day. It's much the bigger ones, it's like much rarer. Much rarer.
Yeah.
But they happen.
But the other thing that's coming to me too, which is just logical, is that um the quantuming or of like medical discoveries, like
Mhm.
uh, uh, cures for cancer and for work on stem cells and just the DNA. And I think with COVID, uh, looking at the immune system and other aspects of long haul COVID, I think it's going to really like amp up uh, like a more dimensional understanding of how uh, our immune system works, and it's going to be pretty wild what's coming up I think in terms of what's going to be discovered for improvements in DNA, the use of DNA, etc. type of
Mhm.
genetic medicine. I guess that's what I'm trying to
Mhm.
say. So it's got to be part of that, I think.
Most definitely, most definitely. Yeah, that's all. Yeah, all of those new ideas, new innovations. That's all very Uranian.
Yeah, yeah. So okay, that's fantastic. So then what happens?
Um,
But that's
so
in April, right? That
that's in
where
April. Yeah.
Jupiter is
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
a conjunct
It's gonna
aspect.
be punked. Yeah.
So for people who don't know what conjunctions are, it's when uh, one planet is aspecting another exactly in the same sign, in the same astronomical and astrological. Um, because one is just an interpretation or reflection of another astrology, and there are different kinds of astrology too. There's Vedic astrology, Chinese astrology, Western astrology, what have you. But uh, it's all looking at where the planets actually are as far as we can perceive them in the sky. So Jupiter's going to sit on top of Uranus. Okay, back to you, Adam.
Yeah. So yeah, that's definitely something to look forward to. Um, so January very much ties in with April as far as that Jupiter and Uranian energy. February and March are going to be a slightly different tone. The end of February, the sun sign transits through Pisces, which is that soothing water energy. Pisces is really about retreat, spirituality, creativity, artistry. We're going to be having the North Node, which represents our evolutionary direction. It's going to be sitting right next to Chiron or conjunct Chiron. Chiron represents our wounds, it's the wounded healer. So, this is an excellent time for healing, personal growth, reconciling conflicts between past wounds and your greater purpose in life. So, this is a wonderful time for any of those who go on spiritual retreats, writing retreats, sabbaticals, taking time off work. End of February, March is a perfect time for that. So I'm going to jump to June. So June brings a different energy. As mentioned before, April, May, more spontaneous, more lively with that Jupiter energy. June, what highlights June is the planet Saturn. which represents our structure, our focus, our discipline. It's going to be going into a retrograde motion. Saturn rules our structure, focus, discipline. So this gives us a deeper gift of reflection, a step backwards, a more introspective type of nature. So we can create better self-awareness about our boundaries. This is a wonderful time for like a summer house cleaning. Saturn very much tends to the physical realm of structure, our physical bodies, our houses, our jobs, our routines. So if there's anything come June that becomes outdated, Saturn retrograde gives us that gift of reflection in order to redefine our structures to move ahead into a more fulfilling life after that retrograde period is over. Yeah.
So kind of good house cleaning.
Yeah.
Uh,
This will be
is this going to be around the solstice or the like prior?
Yep. Yep.
So yeah, before the summer comes, just clean. You want to clean your house. You want to, clear your declutter. I hear so many people right now talking about decluttering. They're really focused on that. But that will be a good time in the spring also to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. So I have one more big aspect I want to talk about, and that pretty much will sum up like the first half of the year. So Pluto retrograde, or I'm sorry, Pluto, as we talked about before, Pluto going to Aquarius, it's going to retrograde back into like the last degrees and the last minutes of Capricorn. And this is happening at a very crucial time. It's going to be going from September 1st to mid-October. So this is, right before the election. So I would not be surprised if we see any, things come down to the wire, some really nasty stuff boil over. This is the last time Pluto will be going into like the last minutes of Capricorn. This is like the final squeeze and the final push for that Capricorn energy before it fully goes in around October 12th into Aquarius. So by the time the election comes, Pluto will fully be in Aquarius and not go back in Capricorn for many, many years, hundreds of years.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
So October surprise or something?
This could be, yeah, September to mid-October. I wouldn't be surprised if some Trumps or Trumpers or very Trump types pull some shenanigans for last what is it last desperate attempts.
Do you know something that and I keep on meaning to do a show about this. Maybe I will soon, or do something, or even just slightly remark on it on Twitter. But
yeah,
it's the whole attack of Hamas on that festival and that area in Israel, and then what happened afterwards with then all this craziness and this Netanyahu kind of going all at it against Hamas and Hamas and Hamas's allies, really taking advantage of social media to villainize Israel. And then you have Netanyahu who is really, if you really looked at him apart from Israel, his alignment with Hamas and with Putin, I feel like we have been wagged, meaning that, and there's proof of this, that in the couple months before that happened, you had Hamas and Hezbollah meeting with leaders of Iran, and definitely meeting with Putin. And you had this involvement of the Wagner Group, which is this really kind of neo-Nazi, really super violent Russian mercenary group that had gone into Ukraine and committed horrendous deeds towards people there, and then training Hamas into the same type of mindset. And then if people remember, because social media is trying to make us forget what Hamas actually did to these not just the Israeli, whoever was there. It was a music festival, anybody could have been there, and then using that to increase the rhetoric and divide people. And there's a amping up of anti-Semitism and anti-Islam, and people started losing sight or didn't even realize that. Why did that happen? And I've talked to my guides about this, but I think you can definitely research it. It's out there. Putin, like you said, like something like what may come up in October, he used that to throw in this like kind of grenade socially, where you got all these protests and you got all these people acting violently towards each other, and feeling like forgetting or not even realizing what the long game was for, like, why that actually happened. But Putin, remember when Nancy Pelosi said all roads lead back to Putin? Putin actually set that into motion to create this. It's like throwing a match into a gasoline fire or something. He wanted it to blow up, and he wanted us to lose sight of what was actually happening beforehand, which was there. There's a huge, and still is a huge group of Israelis and Palestinians that wanted unification, and they were kind of going in that direction, and there was more peace in the world. So Putin comes along and blows that up because it helps him. And then people forget because they're driven by emotion. So we get Mars Capricorn kind of thing. And and it's the thing I want people to remember. I'm not that these issues weren't there. I'm not denying that. And or the human rights violations against the Palestinians, or the fact that Netanyahu is just another like a Putin ally, Trump type person who he's of the same ilk. But we have to be really careful in the future of letting social media, and who owns social media now, who owns Twitter, and the majority of it are people like Musk, who are actually controlled by Putin and the Saudis, because Twitter was bought by Saudi money. So don't be driven by this kind of rhetoric that blows up no matter why it occurs. You have to step back and realize that division between people only helps the people who are trying to take over democratic governments. And I feel like that, astrologically, you can really kind of see how that is, like the forces that are influencing that. But that's kind of what it brings to mind. And then you have like Hamas and Netanyahu, people like that, who are driven by the older Capricornian patriarchal institutional structures, and how they are utilizing that to inflame people and make people, and MAGA too, like not wanting to lose that identity, feeling threatened because you have this Aquarian world ahead of you, diversity and expansion of social norms, and a challenge to what we think is and so that's all, you can read that all in the stars. It's pretty amazing. But we have to be really careful not to be driven by that rhetoric, so that we carry on where we want to go. I'm hoping anybody watching me either does or will in the future want a better world, a world that is more driven by desire for harmony and healing and co-healing and all this incredible stuff that humans are capable of, than that stuff. Yeah, that's
It's interesting you mentioned Netanyahu, because I have his chart here.
Oh, you do?
I
I didn't know that.
Yep.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So what I do is I always pick two people, and he's someone who came to mind, and so I have what's interesting, so
Huh.
with him, you mentioned that real strong Capricorn energy with him. So he's actually not a Capricorn, but he has the planet Saturn.
Well, wait a minute, what is his sign?
So he's actually a Libra. He has sun sign and moon sign in Libra.
Wow, that's really interesting. They're very much uh, controlled by or influenced by Mars. I mean, Mars rules Libra, right? And
Um,
Saturn. Oh no, maybe Mars doesn't. Saturn rules Libra.
yeah, well, Saturn is exalted in Libra. Libra
Yeah.
actually rules Venus. It's ruled by Venus.
Oh, okay. What am I thinking?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
good. Good. Yeah, of course.
So what is interesting about this is that you mentioned that um he has this strong um Saturn Capricorn energy. You know, he has Saturn sitting in the most prominent position in his astrology chart, right on the midheaven, which is the position of the public and the social image. So people like Kamala have Saturn on the midheaven.
Yeah,
These
and
people,
I can point to it here.
yeah,
It's at the
yep,
very
yep,
top of the chart.
yes, yes,
Up there.
yeah, and these people
Yeah.
tend to be in control of the fate and the destiny of others. That
Oh,
is the wrong thing. Look at like with Kamala, for example, right? Her being a lawyer, she put people in jail. She was really much in control of the fate and the destiny of others. That being said, too, because Saturn is so about he's so invested with that ego with Saturn. Saturn is also the way of tradition, right? So all this new energy coming in, Pluto and Aquarius, this all threatens him. This threatens his power. So what does he do when he's threatened? He has the planet Mars sitting right next to Pluto. Pluto's
oh
the power
wow.
structures, Mars is the warrior. Mars, Pluto is combustible. It's one of the most intense aspects to have a Mars conjunct Pluto. So it's basically like this energy is explosive. It will fight to the death. Mars is our energy. When he gets angry, right? The Mars ends up in these Martian Plutonian type of ways where where survival very much comes at hand, right? And the masses and being in control of the masses. And Mars is Spartan, it's not soft and cuddly like Venus. So that's a really intense aspect he has. He also highly overestimates himself. Highly. The reason why is because his sun sign, which represents his ego structure, it's in a square aspect to Jupiter. So Jupiter expands everything. A square indicates the overestimation of one's abilities. So he may brag, I'm not really sure. I don't have like a strong link to his history, but this aspect indicates someone who um, is like a bully, who may throw things out for the sake of his ego, for the sake of bullying, for the sake of sounding like a tough guy. It's also his moon is also square Jupiter too, so his emotions are larger than life. Um, not real fun to be around with that square. This is also someone who is when you have a square aspect to your sun and your moon, you're never satisfied. Squares are in constant movement, dynamic, tension, dissatisfaction. It's never enough. This man definitely is a bit of a black hole. Um, his north node, which represents his karmic direction, his evolutionary direction, is in Aries. So this time around, he is really owning that Martian energy. that trailblazing, that fearless type of energy, that warrior type of energy. However, that being said, his south node, which represents his safety zone, and his sun and his moon sign are in Libra. So this man comes to the forefront, but behind the scenes, he relies on other people, very much reliant on other people in order to make decisions. Um, this is his foundation, you know. So that is pretty much him in a nutshell. Oh, he also has the planet Neptune in retrograde. We see this with Trump. We see this with Giuliani. We see this with Netanyahu. Neptune stands for illusion, spirituality, delusion, drugs, alcohol, scandals. Neptune in retrograde can make someone completely delusional. Can go more and more and more down their pit of delusion. It also makes someone highly intuitive. So this man has a strong intuition. He may dream things, that may come into play, and he's using that intuition to manipulate things. Neptune in retrograde can act sometimes from a bit of like a fantasy world. They can either get lost in that fantasy world with alcohol, like Giuliani, or they can use it and get deeper and deeper in their illusions and their delusions.
I would assume also that it may uh, be somewhat indicative of, and the chart as a whole of narcissism, the chart of a
Oh,
narcissist.
oh, yeah. I mean, this man, he has so many he has so many like overestimation of capabilities.
Grandiosity.
He's very Plutonian, very Mars.
The word that came to me before is corruption, propensity for corruption, because somebody who is willing to party up to people who have historically been anti-Semitic and desiring the destruction of Israel, and yet here you are, and you're in a position of power like he is over Israel, and professes to be pro-Israel, and yet how I don't even understand how he can like be that, like, oh, it's the same with Trump anyway. I mean, any of those people who propose to be really like make America great again, and yet like he's there trying to destroy America. Netanyahu is of
Yeah,
the same vein, but highly corrupted. To do something
yeah.
like that, I just blows my mind. And how I'm so hoping that he's out of power any day now, because he's hated by a lot of Israelis. They don't want him in there. He's just kind of like Trump. He's kind of hard lined himself in there somehow, or bullied himself, because he was
Mm-hmm.
almost out, wasn't he? And then he kind of somehow got back in again. I
I
don't know,
believe,
but it
yeah.
just shocks me how
Mm-hmm.
hypocritical
Mm-hmm.
he is, and what that he's able to partner up with people like Putin and Hamas, and
Mm-hmm.
to
Mm-hmm.
let this thing happen. I blame it on Netanyahu.
Yep, yep.
As much
Yeah,
as, I mean, I also blame it on Hamas, but in terms of Netanyahu, he opened the door for it, as far as I
mm-hmm.
can see. But
Yep.
anyway, I know it's controversial to say that, but yeah, so it must be in his chart, that kind of, maybe that, like the Libra, which is like
Well,
it can kind of make somebody kind of easily influenced somehow, or
Libra can be easily
no
influenced.
spine. And
Yeah,
any of you Libras out there, I'm not saying that's
no,
you, but it can, because it's air, it's an air sign. Oh, go on, I'm sorry.
but you know what aspects actually create that lack of a moral compass? The Jupiter square aspects. And I forgot to mention
Oh,
that because
right.
Jupiter also stands for our morals. And when it's in a square aspect, that could be a loose moral compass.
Yeah, because Libra stands for justice also in its highest
Yeah,
manifestation. It's a highly moral, sign, and
yeah,
with
Mm-hmm.
integrity and fairness and
Mm-hmm.
justice and balance. That, the tarot card of justice, Libra's ruled or represented also by the scales.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But
Libra,
yeah,
though, Libra's ruled by Venus. However, what I find sometimes about Libra energy, though, is that there's this strong link to perfectionism with Libra. And that a lot of times that Libra energy wants things just so. And when things aren't just so, there tends to be bouts of explosions. I find that with Libra energy.
yeah, and I want to say also for any of us, all of our signs have positive and negative
Of course, of course,
aspects and manifestations.
of course.
Any of us. So I feel
Mm-hmm,
that some poor Librans out there are going to be upset that I dissed that
yeah,
song,
no,
but I didn't mean to. It's just in its negative manifestation. Uh,
yes,
but
yes.
but we all have that, the dual aspects of any sign.
Yeah,
So
yes, we all have the capability to go high and to go low.
yes, we're human beings,
Yes.
and we do.
Mm-hmm.
So that's so interesting about Netanyahu. Did you say you had another chart?
Yeah, so I have that's Netanyahu. Um, yeah, so I have Zelensky.
Oh, really? All the
Yeah,
Zelensky. Oh, one of my heroes of
yeah,
his.
and I can tie him a little with Putin too because I've done Putin's chart a lot, so I actually like remember a lot of it.
Yeah.
So what we have with Zelensky is he has what I call a real karmic chart. And the reason why is because he has these strong placements in retrograde positions, meaning that the whole idea around the retrograde aspects, the whole philosophy is that if you were born with strong retrograde aspects, it's like a redoing of something that wasn't finished yet. So, for example, he has the planet Saturn, which rules structure and duty and discipline and focus. He has that in retrograde in his birth chart. So, what we see here is he's like kind of forced now, to be in that position and to really like he can't escape. He can't
Escape his fate.
get out
Yeah,
on his.
because he was a comedian and an actor before he became president of
Yeah, yeah,
Ukraine.
yeah. So he can't like skid out on his duties right now. That type of thing. So he is an Aquarius. He has his sun sign and his Venus, which represents relationships in Aquarius. So he kind of is like the poster man, the poster president, for the new Aquarian age. It's just unfortunately there's so much karma involved with him that that full Aquarian energy has a hard time like completely expressing himself because he's caught up in so many different layers of karma and entanglement. um, what I really see with him, he has his moon in Leo, which indicates so the moon stands for the emotions, and it also there's also links with the like past life and representation of the moon. A lot of times the individual with a moon in Leo was in a position of power and did take the center stage. So as you mentioned, he was an actor, a comedian, so he's very comfortable in that center stage position. Um, so, on sort of perhaps a reincarnational, abstract, karmic basis, um, this could have been a very strong scenario of someone who was a ruler in a past life, but may have not fulfilled their obligations and fulfilled their duties. And this time around, they're sort of being forced to do that. That could be a real scenario going on with uh, with those retrograde planets and Zelensky.
Well, I did do a past life reading on him.
You did.
Yes, I did.
What?
And
Yeah,
he was the leader of the French resistance in that
he was okay.
yes.
Okay,
So
yes,
I can send you the link to that past life. But and I did like I usually do with past life if I can, and I usually can find portraits at least of people. And
yeah.
I put them next to each other. He almost looks identical to him, especially as a child.
Wow.
But yeah.
That's amazing. Amazing.
And there was an aspect of that, like karma, because he was assassinated or tortured and killed by the Nazis at the end of his life. And
Okay.
but he never quite got, his life was cut short in his fight. I'm looking for, for some reason his name is
Yeah.
escaping me
Yeah.
today, so I'm kind of looking in my channel to find
Okay.
his name. There must be solar flares or something happening in the last few days, because it just seems like my mind just has gone blank all of a sudden.
Uh-huh.
I think it's a collective thing, because other people have been telling me they've been experience this kind of a fuzziness. I don't know if you know if anything's happening right now. Um, but yeah, carry on talking, and then I'm going to find it.
Sure, sure. Another aspect he has the planet Mars in Leo in retrograde too. So Mars represents our vitality. Our vitality, it represents our energy. And when it's in that retrograde motion again, that could definitely indicate like a sudden death, sudden violent death, perhaps something along those terms. Um, Also, periodically, I look at his transit chart. So transits are the aspects that are transiting in the sky. They're all transitory, thus being called transits. And he is constantly undergoing these evaluations and these tests of his power and his strength and his stamina. Um, that are really quite remarkable, that I don't really see with you know that I don't really see this in like the average individual, so to speak. um there also is the ability to for healing and for reconciliation that I see in his chart too.
Yeah.
um which is definitely wonderful. But yeah, no, this man has definitely been, without a doubt, a leader and a ruler in a past life.
And he's had other, I mean, we have lots of past lives, such as Jean Moulin.
Mhm.
I don't know if I couldn't. I don't think I can. Oh, maybe here.
So was this like his most recent past life?
I think so. I would have to ask my guides. My guides were the ones who kind of led me to it.
Yeah,
I don't know if you can see Jean Moulin here, but
I can a little bit. Yeah. Okay.
yeah. So, yep.
Wow. Wow. Okay. Okay. Yeah. The first thing I was like, wow, look at all these retrograde planets. Um, his Aquarius sun, his Venus in Aquarius, he very much is on a mission. For humanity and for the greater good with that Aquarian energy and all those retrograde planets. The first thing, my intuition, I'm just looking at the chart. I'm like, very strongly karmic, very strongly linked with past life, just like Biden. Biden also has an extremely karmic chart as well.
Yes, and I will do a past life on him, but I kind of want people to just know him as he is right now, because he's so amazing. And then at some point, I'm going to do a past life, but I don't want to do one right now. I just kind of want to experience Biden as Biden. But with
Yeah.
Mulan, the interesting collective karma, which a lot of these people, I get, including us probably, are may have had lifetimes, well, whether they were during World War II or other lifetimes where these people could have been the Spanish Inquisition, or could have been the Crusades or something, but the Civil War, these people who are incarnating. There's a lot of Nazis and Civil War leaders. Like I even did a reading on several generals, Confederate generals who've reincarnated. And my last reading, I don't know if you saw it, probably not, but it was just the most recent one. It was Lindsey Graham is the reincarnation of Mary Surratt, who was one of the co-conspirators in the assassination of Lincoln. And they look very similar.
Wow.
So there's
Wow.
this collective karma. So it
Lady
wouldn't be
G.
a
Okay. I
surprise that he would be
see that.
reincarnating now to carry on this fight against fascism.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That would make absolute sense, because it's been the same kind of energy, the same kind of like battle between light and dark, between the the desire for world dominance and um
Mm-hmm.
tyranny or tyranny and control, and the fight for human rights and for saving the planet. All this is all the same conflict that's been going on for a very long time, and then here we are at the cusp, right, of
Mhm,
the Aquarian age. So this
mhm,
is like the it reminds me sometimes of the Lord of the Rings, the last battle.
mhm,
All
mhm,
this very last battle, and we're having to kind of like finish this fight, and I'm
mhm,
hoping we finish it for the good. But that,
mhm,
so all these people are reincarnating and playing these parts that are,
mhm,
yeah, they're instrumental
mhm,
in
mhm,
this final. I'm hoping this final battle. Maybe I'm too optimistic, but but Pluto and Aquarius to me represents that. Uh, yeah, it's and you know we all have to pick a side in this lifetime, and that
mhm,
even if we're resisting it and we want to think it's all good, and just it's all whatever it is, but I feel like just like probably in other lifetimes, at some point life is going to force you to pick a side. What side are you on?
mhm, mhm,
Because
mhm,
if you don't pick that side, then you're gonna lose it all, and your family's going to lose it all, your children are going to lose it all, the earth's going to lose it all. There isn't this latitude like maybe people have perceived in the past, in this lifetime or in other lifetimes. This is it, or at least we're perceiving it, that we
mhm,
have to get involved, we have to figure it out, we have to
mhm,
decide. And
mhm.
so you have these real iconic representations of like that, and Putin, Zelensky, like that's he did, and Putin, sorry, not Putin, but Zelensky probably didn't think of himself as a warrior or somebody who was going to be leading the fight, not just for the autonomy for Ukraine, but for the whole of Europe, because that's what's he's fighting for, what the fight's all about. Because Putin certainly, just like Hitler, and he openly talks about it, wants to not just conquer Ukraine, but go into the rest of Western Europe. That's on his mind. So you have to pick a side. Uh, yeah, but I think it's all played out in the stars like that. That this
Mhm,
conflict.
mhm,
Do you
mhm.
agree? Or,
Most definitely, most definitely. Yeah. I mean, that's why I am an astrologer, because it
ah,
helps. Yeah, I look at the chart and I kind of absorb the whole thing, and I get this sort of image of like the karma and the battles, and I see pictures as well, you know. Um, yeah, each
well, wait,
astrological.
wait a minute. Stop for a second. I just want you to explain that a little further, if you don't mind. You see pictures. What kind of pictures? How's that
Yeah,
manifest for
so
you?
like each astrological symbol I represents like certain pictures to me, if that makes
Oh,
sense.
well, give
And
me an example.
okay, so when I see like Mars, I think of energy, I think of war, I think of battle. When I see Mars in retrograde, I automatically think like intense death in a past life.
Oh,
The
wow.
yeah. Or when I see like Saturn in retrograde, I'm like, ooh, like strong sense of duty now. Like this person need not skip out on their duty. You know? Or like Neptune in retrograde, like, wow, this person has the uh, strong ability for like strong escapism, stuff like that. And it's all based upon the house position and the aspects, you know. Each aspect too, kind of represents a color and an energetic and an emotional tone. So I sort of see a combination of that stuff as well. Um,
Yeah, I love that. It's multidimensional and
yeah,
multisensory.
yeah. I have some strong like Pisces Neptune placements, which
Wow.
a little bit out there.
But that's beautiful to make a chart alive, to give it life, you know?
Yeah, yeah. There are certain charts that I see like more intensity and more life. Zelensky, uh, Putin, Biden's chart, for example. So, for example, take like Putin, right? He has the planet Pluto, which represents power. It's sitting right on his midheaven, right there. It's sitting. It's on his midheaven, which is the high point in the chart. It's sitting right to his south node. So I automatically think like, wow, dictator in many past lives. This person is comfortable as the dictator in the sign of Leo, right? And what is Leo? Leo is the center stage. So this man has been in that position for many a lifetime, you know? Yeah, so I look at things like that, it's sort of similar, when you do your reads on past lives, I'll sort of look at a chart and I'll certain times I'll be able to tap in and be like, wow, that individual has played this role many times. Or yeah, stuff like that. It's
Well,
quite
yeah, I love astrology, and
Mhm.
in my conversations with my guides regarding astrology, it takes a lot of planning in between lives to plan out your your next incarnation because of your sign. I mean, this is all very integral to, what's going to, how are you going to evolve in the next life, or what the lessons that you learn are going to be, or what the strength that
Yeah.
you've taken from other lifetime. I mean, it's all in the chart, and the
Mhm, mhm.
reading the natal chart, so a minefield of information about your, not just what's going to the influences of this lifetime. I'm not going to talk about what's going to happen, but what you come in with, the potentials and
Mhm,
karma and all that stuff, but what happened in the last lifetime, because it's a continuation.
mhm,
So yeah, I love astrology. I'm so glad we're able to be here to give us a glimpse of what's coming.
yeah, thanks for having me.
And I hope you come back.
I most definitely.
Oh, good. Okay, so I think I'm gonna uh let you go. And I
Bye.
will, yeah, and just let me know when you think a good time, like a moon or whatever it is that you want to read on. I mean, like a full moon or a new moon or something, or an important astrological transit. And we'll have another show. That'd be great.
Yes, most definitely.
Yeah, it's been lovely having you here.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. Will you take care? Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Bye, Adam. Be well.
Bye.